Hello and welcome. This is Business Incorporated coming to you live from Channels Television Global Headquarters in Lagos. I am Bosun Mavayo on the show. Today, coming up, the International Monetary Fund warns Tanzania of downside economic growth risks. In North Africa, Egypt starts international roadshows next week for Eurobonds issuance in 2016. Plus, France Total pays $900 million for control of Ugandan oil projects. These are the details over the next 30 minutes, wherever you are at this time. Let's start from home, where the Nigerian stock market is reversing. Monday's strong gains, now trading in the red as we speak, is just about an hour to the closing bell of the Nigerian market for this Tuesday, the 10th of January. However, markets in South Africa and Egypt are in green territory, and the question is what's driving the Egyptian market. At about an hour ago, that was about 1% in the green. As we speak, it's about 2% and a tenth of a percent, 2.09% to be specific. That's about a few minutes ago. So the Egyptian market is the best performing on the African continent as we speak. Look at South Africa, where the market's also green, but not as much as the Egyptian in North Africa. But the South African GSC, the All Share Index, about 1%. About 12:30 Nigerian time, 0.89%. In Kenya, the market finished on Monday 0.69% in the red. 128.86, losing that 131 when we started the new year 2017. Let's cross to the Middle East and look at the markets where the Saudi Arabia stock markets remain in the red, but the rest of the region were upbeat. The Tadawul in KSA headed for its third straight session of declines after oil prices fell to three-week lows overnight. Look at the numbers. Abu Dhabi, about 0.1%, eking out that as at lunchtime here in Nigeria. About the same margin on the Dubai financial markets. The Qatar Stock Exchange, a little bit sluggish, 0.03%, around 3,028. The Saudi, around 7,000, the Saudi Tadawul. Let's cross over to Europe, where there are more concerns about the Italian banking system. Banking shares moved south in early trading as two new concerns emerged in the Italian banking system. Popolare di Vicenza and Veneto Banca were two lenders rescued last year by the Italian authorities, and they are now proposing a deal with disgruntled shareholders that could cost the banks more than 600 million euros in bailout. Meantime, the Brexit has also remained a concern for the German Chancellor Angela Merkel and her counterpart in the UK, Prime Minister Theresa May. So let's talk through some of these issues. As far as the European Trading Day is concerned, DWTV financial correspondent for Channels Television at the Frankfurt Stock Exchange, Ulrich Bartz, is joining us now for some interesting conversation. These are the two most powerful women in Europe. Well, Brexit has happened, but of course, if you permit me to say, across the oceans, as it were, Theresa May on one hand, Angela Merkel on the other hand, seems there's to be some disagreement over the details of Brexit. What are these two leaders? What do they really want as far as this Brexit for the UK is concerned?
Yes, Angela Merkel warns that there will be no cherry picking in executing a Brexit and negotiating, let's say, the Britain's joining the single market in some capacity as a non-EU member. Merkel says either accept all four freedoms of the single market, which includes open borders to people who reside and who are citizens of the EU, or you have to make concessions on the trade side. You can't have your cake and eat it too, is basically her message. Theresa May would like that. She would like to regain control over the borders, as she says, and she would like favorable trade conditions. So the two parties are basically going head-to-head here. The worries that the Germans have, of course, in this context, is losing Britain as a favorable trading partner, because so many German wares, so many German goods go to Great Britain, and we import from Britain as well. Germany loses, of course, a financial contributor to the EU. All EU members members do, and especially Germany loses perhaps a political ally too if things come to a head and there should be big disagreement. Above all, though, I think the Chancellor wants to avoid the impression that Theresa May and the British government will get their cherry picking, and thus perhaps provide some sort of enticement to other countries who are also dissatisfied with the EU and say, look, if they can do it, if they can get their favourable conditions but close their borders, we want that too. I think that's something that Germany's Chancellor Angela Merkel at all costs wants to avoid.
Ulrich, let's stick with some politics and business mixed together. Look at Donald Trump, businessman Donald Trump, now U.S. president-elect. In 10 days' time, he's a president of the United States. And look at the business stories beginning to emerge in this transition phase, from Ford Motors to GM, now Alibaba, Jack Ma in, all the way from China having a handshake at the Trump Towers. Does it look like, after all, the businessman Donald Trump will likely see that businessman into the Oval Office when he takes office? Is he going to rally a business confidence? What we've seen in the last few days, is it a sense of saying, look, the big businesses in the United States are confident, or even across the world, that businessman Donald Trump have a handshake as the president of the United States?
It's amazing to see these people who would travel to the president-elect even before he gets into the Oval Office. I think this shows the nervousness on the side of the businessman above all, but they are offering something. For example, Alibaba founder and chief Jack Ma saying that by providing better access to U.S. firms to his trading platform, to Alibaba, he sees 1 million new jobs coming from that. The expectancy is that with each favored access or better access than before, there will be one new job created. Ford is a different story. Ford has a plant in Mexico planned, and it seems to be going back, retracting from these plans, but when you look at the details, not really. But the fact that Ford is expressing itself in this way and that Jack Ma is making advances to Trump shows that the people in the business world are nervous, and I think the people acting here also see it as some sort of business confidence effort, building, showing Trump that there are some people who are advancing, and also showing some people in their business colleague ranks that yes, we have to do something in order not to have too many disadvantages here.
Well, Ulrich, let's finish off on the emerging markets, where a Bloomberg report says the corporate debt profile is almost $20 billion, $18 billion, and that's on the wire today. Do you think this is a source of worry for investors in corporate bonds around the world, especially in particular your markets in Europe, where you're looking at China, Brazil, Venezuela, South Africa, Argentina, where there are source of worry, Russia inclusive, as far as the debt profile is concerned, even on the sovereign side?
I think there are a lot of people who are worried about the mounting debt, the rising debt, and the mountain of debt out there. And you mentioned some of the regions, some of the countries involved. Venezuela is a problem. I don't think Russia is a problem. Africa should not really be a problem because there are, of course, lots of raw materials there. But the IIF, the International Institute of Finance, it's a banking organization in Washington, put out something on this just a little while ago. And they do point to some problems here, especially to debt that's denominated in foreign currency, and with the dollar rising as it is now, with the Federal Reserve having raised rates and being seen to raise rates further, that's being seen as a problem, and it could have some loans that go, or some bonds that go underwater. And the IIF also warns that a source of concern is that in this year, last year, there were 240 non-financial corporate downgrades. So the quality of the debt seems to be going downhill. At the moment, no current topics to worry about, but it's something that people here in the market are watching closely. When bonds go underwater, a lot of investors get nervous.
Yes, Ulrich, thank you very much. This is our first time of getting together in the new year. Thank you very much. It's good to see you. My apologies that I didn't say that early at the beginning of our conversation. It's good to see you, Ulrich Batz, back at the Frankfurt Stock Exchange, and I here in Lagos, Nigeria's financial capital.